The endowment is just really important to the lifeblood of the church. And we always call it the endowment, but it's really the Tabernacle Presbyterian Church's endowment. We all call the endowment. And it was founded in 1951. And I've had the pleasure of serving several terms on the endowment board for over the last 10 years. But most church members don't realize that the endowment only has one beneficiary, and that is the church. So 100% of the assets of the endowment go to the church. And it's often confusing between what's the difference between the church and the endowment, because they are two separate entities. So the way I like to think about it is the church is a checking account. The endowment is a savings account. So the checking account, the church, pays for all the operating expenses of the church during the year. The savings account, or the endowment, invests the money to earn a return on the money, and then it gives the assets that it raises and part of the principal to the church in two ways. First, every year the endowment savings pays out 3 to 5% of all the assets in the endowment to the church, the checking account, for the support of the annual operations. And typically that makes up about 16% of the church's annual budget. Second, the church, when they have a larger project or a need that cannot be funded through the annual budget, the endowment fund helps with the project. As an example, the parking lot renovation that was just completed, the endowment contributed about $300,000 of the cost of that project. There are other examples, such as the stadium project, roof repairs, window replacements. These kinds of things are what the assets of the endowment are used for. Assistance from the endowment also kept the church operating during the problematic years with the budget prior to Pastor Gable's arrival in 2007. So it really helped support the church in a very downtime. So the endowment assets are professionally managed with a long-term perspective. So today, about 65% of the assets are invested in equities, about 35% in fixed income, and they provide a relatively safe and steady return for the church. So as you think about your gifts to the church, it's important to remember that if you want your gifts to go to the endowment, the savings account, then you must specifically note that it is for the endowment. Because if there is no designation, then your contribution will go to the church or the checking account. So think about these things. We really appreciate any support the endowment can have, because that helps fund the church on an ongoing, long-term basis. Thank you.